District Board, and welcome to everybody who is watching on our live stream through the pitch. So thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for everybody who's in the room. This is the Centerville Community School District's annual, we have three meetings tonight. It's our annual meeting, our organizational meeting, and a regular board meeting. It is November 20th of 2023 at 5:30 p.m. in the Centerville Administration Office. And we'll start with our school district mission, that all students will learn well, become lifelong learners, and contribute positively to society. We're going to start off tonight with the Board of Education's annual meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Moore.
Here.
Mike Thomas. Bob Thomas.
Here.
Shonda.
Here.
Berger.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Wiskus.
Here. This meeting is now called to order. We'd like to welcome our visitors. We have quite a few people in the room tonight. And so we'd like to welcome all of them. We're going to open up to our public forum here in a second. For our board policy, we'll read the following statement before the public forum. We will now open the floor for public comment. I want to remind all speakers that while it is an open forum for any issues, the board does expect all speakers to maintain a civil tone and refrain from using profanity. I want to also remind all speakers that any comments may be made tonight during the public meeting are done so at the risk of the person making the comment, and the district will not be responsible for any defamatory or potentially defamatory statements, which may be made about a particular person. It's the board's practice not to engage or respond to speakers during the public comment session, regardless of the topic or concern. If the board wishes to further discuss an item or concern raised in the public comment, will do so by establishing an agenda at a future board meeting. Thank you for your attention. At this time, is there any member of the public that would like to make a statement or bring something to the attention of the board? Seeing none, we'll move on. What we need to do is approve the agenda for the annual meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion second to approve the agenda for the annual meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The agenda is approved. We need to approve the meeting minutes from the previous meetings. They were in your board packet. Any comment, questions, or revisions on the previous meeting minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion second to approve the previous meeting minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The meeting minutes are approved. Now, for our annual board meeting, we have a series of reports that we're going to receive tonight. We'll start with, and we do have to approve these reports, the transportation report.
One of the big differences in this year's transportation report, I don't know if you noticed, was salaries. We had a question about that earlier. The reason for that is because of the dividing of the two, Aaron and Mike. The previous year, Tim Castor was the transportation director, and now that is split, so that's why there was a decrease in their salaries. I'd say other than that, there weren't really any large differences, other than maybe some special education miles and some activity trips with Suburbans or Traverses instead of yellow buses. Anybody have any questions about transportation?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the transportation annual report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Transportation annual report is approved. Receive and approve the local education agency certified annual report. Again, that information, the detail was in the board packet.
This report, I don't know if you noticed one of the, not on the summary, but one of the reports, our overall expenditures this year in all funds was about for a little bit over 30 million. So a significant amount of that was for the high school addition. In the general fund, our expenditures decreased this year. Some of the reasons for that was we had some less concurrent enrollment or concurrent classes with Indian Hills. There were a few certified and support staff changes that we didn't know about the time when we budgeted. And then some staff changes due to just a decrease in, I'm not sure how to say that, just some staffing changes, I'll just say that.
So one item with this that, for your advocacy efforts, is that starts to ramp up over the next couple months. The numbers that are being used at the state level right now to calculate the per pupil expenditures to compare against other states include the PEPAL and SAVE money spent in districts. So large amounts spent to build a new building will make it look like the average in the state has raised a whole bunch. Not the $7,500 that we truly receive per pupil, but it's calculating in PEPAL and SAVE. So some of that kind of comes out of this report, and it's just being used sort of erroneously there. So as you advocate, really encourage people to think about, you can kind of see through this report how much the PEPAL and SAVE money really impacts what it would look like on a per pupil basis there, which is not ongoing.
Right. Fund balance for the nutrition department. I know some people were concerned about that. If you notice that increased by a significant amount, so. That program is doing well right now. Does anybody have any other questions?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the education agency's certified annual report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Certified annual report is approved. Next item is receive and approve the local education agency's special education supplement.
I did not put the actual report in the packet. I started to, and then I realized there was information that could actually identify some students. So I'm glad I noticed that, so I took it out. But the summary, there's nothing in the reports, the actual report, that isn't included in the summary. So, and we went over this one pretty much most of that when we approved the sped deficit. So, I think I've already explained all of that, but if you have any questions, the amount of our deficit increased, but we talked about, because that was partly because of the carryover and some of the increases in salary.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the local education agency's special education supplement. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? SDS report is approved. Now, this next one, approve the second reading of the board policy 503. I just have to say, a week ago, I got a very, very excited call from our board superintendent who was so excited because it is so rare in an annual report you get to approve a board policy, and he was just really excited about that.
Yeah, because it's unfinished business. We've already done the first reading, so we by law have to do the second reading at the annual meeting.
And it's
Kinda
usually not
nerdy
something
and
that gets done.
Yeah.
So he's geeking out on policy again at an annual meeting.
So, good times.
Take it over, talk to us.
Well, we've added there was a request to add the actual URL, rather than using a bit.ly, I think, as we kind of talked through with people that looked a little less professional, we just put the actual educateiowa.gov URL there. It's a pretty long URL, but it'll get you to that document and let people see what's in there. I still think this is a weird one. If I had to bet money, I'll bet you it ends up in a policy primer again at some point in the near future. But for now, this is what the state's recommending to do, in one way or the other.
Motion to approve second reading. 503. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the second reading of board policy 503.8. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The board policy is approved. And then finally, there's a few bills, we have current bills and pay the per diem. And all that information was listed in the board packet.
Motion to approve.
Third.
We have a motion and a second to pay the bills as presented in the board packet. All in favor, we have a motion and a second, right? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Bills are paid, and the per diem is paid. I'm trying to keep up here on my screen. There we go. Okay. So the next one, we have a little bit of a, Bob found a typo on it. So it's review the official election canvas, that's in the packet. What we're gonna have to do is go back to the county supervisors and the auditor, is that on the abstract that they wrote, it said Thomas Johnson duly elected office Centerville School Board for a term of 1 year, so it should be a 2 years, so they have a typo on that one. So don't worry, Tom, we're gonna get you for 2 years. So, so as we go to approve the abstract, the duly elected members, as listed in the board packet, are myself, Mike Moore, Derek Carter as incumbents are back on the board, and then Carol Heffron is also elected for a 4-year term, and then Tom is filling the 2-year term that's being vacated by Bob Thomas. So as we go through this, I would say that the motion and second to approve this should be noted change for Tom for 2 years.
I don't know that we actually have to approve it, other than just review it.
Okay.
So,
Just review it, okay. Well, I guess we're reviewing it, we're telling them it's wrong, I guess we don't have to
I'll
approve,
have
so.
yeah.
Okay. Any questions on that? You are correct, that is just review, not approve. Any questions on that? Okay. With that, we're gonna do a board takeaway. Now, this is gonna be a little bit different type of takeaway. And this is Mark's suggestion, I really like it a lot. What we thought we would do is to give, since this is Chris and Bob's final meeting, is for Chris and Bob to give us a board takeaway. As, I guess I'll also call it a pearl of wisdom that they would like to leave with the board. Then I'm also gonna do one just so I can fit something in on the agenda. So everybody else is off hook for a board takeaway, but I have asked them to give a kind of a final formal takeaway. So Chris, what do you got for us?
So, for those of you who went to the ISB again this year, I think it's a great thing for the whole board to go, to be together. And I was telling Tim, I got a lot out of not just ISB, but the time we spent together as a board with the superintendent and Lisa as well. I think that it's quality time that you can't get back. And one of the things I really learned over the last 4 years is if you spend time with the people on the board, you can actually see where they're coming from, some of their ideas, some of their reasons why they vote the way they do. And it might not necessarily be the way that you're gonna vote, but at least you get to see their point so that you can bring that to the table and kind of mull it over and come to your own conclusion.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Bob?
Okay, I guess I'm gonna say things I've said before,
It's okay.
but that's what old people do, so. I'm used to it. First thing, I think there's a big difference between being a teacher and a board member. Teachers are kind of centered in their own little world. We've talked and I've learned about stuff that I never thought about in my whole life. And we've talked about this board has gone through more issues than a typical board in any other city, I think, probably. But anyway, I think that's a big point, that the board member is really looking at the whole system. As a teacher, I was probably a little selfish in my point of view, maybe. I've been on since 2016. I think I got on in April of 2016. So sort of pretend like I've been here 7 years, but it doesn't add up to 7 years ago. because it doesn't begin on the same times at all. Finances, when I got on the board, we were in bad shape financially. We talked about the state maybe taking us over. And all of a sudden that changed. I wasn't totally sure how it changed, but I think a large part of it was paying teachers to retire early. That's probably, from my point of view, but all of a sudden we were in this desperate situation, then a year later, I think hiring the use of experts, we've done more and more of that than we did 7 years ago, I think. And I think that's kind of important, that they specialize and they see stuff that we would never see in a million years probably. I think our construction things, I think we did them in the right order. I think Brooke and Marty would have built the high school first and probably used up all the money. We never got around to the rest of those, but it took a while to get a consensus to do these in the order that we did them in. But looking back, I think we're probably screwing the high school a little bit, that they're not getting as much money as they could have got if they were at the beginning of the trough. Curriculum, let's see, this probably tomorrow would be the anniversary of 60 years ago that I ended student teaching in Ottumwa. I know that because I got done on a Tuesday and Kennedy got assassinated on a Friday kind of thing, so it's just easy to remember that. So it would be 60 years ago that I discovered there was the canteen lunch place, and so I've been eating there for 60 years, which has been interesting, I think, from curriculum. It's been kind of fascinating, the teacher part of me, seeing the changes we're making. I think when I started teaching, we just taught, we didn't know what we were doing. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. But now, some of the stuff I did, there's research to show that that's the way to do it, maybe, and there's research to show that there's other things we shouldn't do. And I think I've been really impressed with elementary and the middle school. I don't think I get as excited about seeing reports from high school people, but I think that's because elementary people, a bunch of 4th grade teachers or 5th grade or science people can get together. At the high school, it's a kind of a lonely job. You're the only one teaching sociology or being the band director, and maybe that experimentation and all that kind of stuff doesn't take place. But we're in much better shape with curriculum. I mean, the whole world is better because there's support now to justify things that we're doing and to be able to recognize when we're not doing it right. I think the biggest takeaway is to sit back and watch consensus take place in this room. Back before you guys were on the board, there used to be visitors who came and bitched at us. And part of the bitching was that we all voted the same all the time. And they had no clue that we didn't start out on the same page. It takes time, and that's the same with these building projects. We didn't go very fast on those, but eventually you developed a consensus. And so pay attention to that reaching consensus is a powerful thing and really kind of an important thing. And this group of people has consented, whatever the correct word would be there. But anyway, that fascinates me. I guess I go to a lot of meetings and I've watched things be screwed up sometimes, and we've evolved to know how to reach consensus, I think. But it's all about time, I think, probably.
Well,
Here end of my thoughts, I think.
Well, thank you very much for the words of wisdom. 60 years of teaching, you certainly have put a lifetime into education, and that's commendable, so. So for both of you, just on behalf of the board and Mark and Lisa, just want to thank you for your service to the board. We have ordered from IASB the lifetime passes. That's the loan compensation you get for all the service that you're on here. We are going to call you probably back for a few times to have at least a meeting or two with Doug Phillips, and you guys know what that's about, so we still need to work through that process. But I would just like to personally thank each of you also for your time and service on the board, and for we'll try and figure out how to condense all that down and try and put the board takeaways up on the wall there as the words of wisdom. So yeah, it's a big wall for Bob. So, but thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for helping to advance the board. And I do think we're in a better place than we have been before. And with that, I'm gonna give one little takeaway because I don't know where else to fit on the agenda. So speaking of IASB, and I did show this to you, and just because we got a streaming audience out there is, you know, a few years ago, nobody in this room went to IASB conventions, Iowa Association of School Boards. And now for 2 straight years, pretty much the entire board's gone. And this year, the Centerville School Board, there's 330 some school boards in the state of Iowa. And about 30 of those, or 10% of the school boards in the state of Iowa, were recognized by the Iowa Association of School Boards for the Team Achievement Award presented to the Centerville School Board of Directors. And it lists Kevin Wiskus, Mike Moore, Tim Berger, Derek Carter, Chris Shondell, Bob Thomas, and Mike Thomas. And I would add to that Mark Taylor and Lisa Swartz. In recognition of the commitment to leadership as evidenced by a majority of school board members participating in board development activities sponsored by the Iowa Association of School Boards in the Better Boardsmanship Award Program. So this is the first time that this district has received this, and that just, I think, is a testimony to everybody in the room. And as, you know, playing off of Chris's, the ISB convention is a good thing. It's about our professional development. So I'm just going to say this as kind of as we end the organizational meeting, it's my thanks to everybody who did put the work in to get this. And it's not about the award, it's about our mission statement of becoming lifelong learners, and this is how the Centerville School Board, individual members become lifelong learners as the professionals development that we can do in order to lead the district. So congratulations to all who have done that, and I really think they should put Lisa and Mark's name on this because you are part of this. And so thank you all. And with that, that gives my takeaway for the night. So with that, that would adjourn our organizational meeting. If I can have a second and I think it would be appropriate, Bob, if you would make the motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
You knew where I was going. So we have a motion second to adjourn the organizational meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Again, thank you, gentlemen, for your service.
Been great work with you.
Thank you.
Carol, your husband is the one who put me on.
Remember?
Sorry, I want to thank
Aaron, I'll be working with you.
Yeah, I'll see you in a couple days.
Say I have to.
So I gotta be sure. I'll take Carol's second.
Are you hanging?
Yeah, I'll stay.
Hey, seriously, Bob, thanks for all you've done. You have been a champion for education. We appreciate it. Thank you.
It's good to be with you, man. Don't be a stranger.
Okay.
Does he get his nameplate? Does he
I
check
don't know,
that?
that's a Lisa question.
Yeah.
So I
Doesn't
think,
have his name on it.
I don't think it's.
Watching TV parties.
So Bob, are you sticking around?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Try to get more.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Really?
All right, so now that we've done that, it's now time for the organizational board meeting. And according to board policy, at this moment in time, Lisa is president pro board, and I yield to Lisa.
Well, I'm gonna give the administrative office to
You
the.
gotta call the meeting to order, it's a roll call.
Okay.
I know, we didn't get her tear
I'm gonna call the organizational board meeting to order. It's 5:54 PM. With a roll call. Berger,
Here.
Carter,
Here.
Heffron. Here. Johnson,
Here.
Moore,
here,
Thomas,
here.
Wiskus.
Here.
And I'm gonna administer the oath of office to the elected members. So if you just wanna stand up and read the right name.
No, just those.
Okay.
No, all.
Well, all of them.
Oh, we all
Sorry.
stand up?
Sorry,
Oh.
all.
Oh, that's right. You're just duly elected, I forgot. Yeah.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of board members for the Centerville Community School District as now and hereafter required by law?
I do.
Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to, the next item on our agenda is the election of president and vice president. So I'll call for nominations for president.
Kevin Wiskus.
Okay, so Mike Moore,
You didn't have to be so quick.
nominating Kevin Wiskus. Do I have any other nominations or are nominations ceasing?
I call for nominations to cease.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna do a roll call for Kevin Wiskus to be Centerville Community School District Board President. Berger,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Heffron,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Wiskus.
Abstain.
Yeah, okay. So now I will put the meeting over to you.
Oh, well, thank you. You did a fine job, so. You did good. Thank you all. I appreciate the vote of confidence and to continue to lead the school board. I appreciate that very much. At this time, we'll open up for nominations for vice president of the Centerville School Board.
Mike Moore.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for vice president of the school board? Seeing none, at this point, we'll go ahead and take the roll call vote for vice president.
Berger. For Mike Moore, Berger,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Heffron,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore. Oh, sorry. Thomas
Yes.
and Wiskus.
Yes.
Okay. So now I need to administer the oath of office
Yes.
for your offices. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of board president and vice president for the Centerville Community School District as now and hereafter required by law?
I do.
Okay.
All right. So now we're going to review and revise the board meetings and times and dates. Those were in your packet. And that's a piece of paper here. I think there's one, do you know what date we need to change?
I want to make sure that I say the right thing here, because Lisa and I are recommending that we move the meeting that's scheduled for March 25th to March 18th. Part of that reason is because that's over spring break. And generally for a work session, we try to bring in student activities, so we may have trouble accessing students during that time. So we would have to do, if we do that, we just have to do 2 separate meetings, because as you can see on that schedule, there's a budget statement, public hearing, so we do that, and then a separate meeting for the work session after that.
Motion to approve the revised timetable.
Second. We have a motion to second to revise or approve it with the revision on the 18th. It's the 25th to the 18th, right?
Yep.
Okay. From the 25th to the 18th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the school board sessions are amended and approved.
Thank you.
And for Carol and Tom, when you look in there, on June 24th, it says board retreat. That's an all-day event. So when it says board retreat, we'll talk more about that when that comes, so. We did one of those last years, and by popular demand, we're gonna do that again this year. Okay. So at this time, I would like to go, the other thing I just want to mention that's in that area of the board packet is Iowa Code Chapter 21 and 22 that was sent to us by the county auditor. They include that in the packet with the votes. So it's just a good idea to go back and read through those. Chapter 21 is kind of a shorter read, and if anybody has any questions on those two state laws, at this point in time, I'm fairly versed on Chapter 21 of Iowa Code at this point, so feel free to ask questions. And I'm not as versed in Chapter 22, but it's probably a good idea to make sure you understand those Iowa codes, because they do apply to our open and closed meetings. So this time, I'd like to go around and discuss what the board members' goals are for the next year, and I'll go ahead and start with that. And some of these are my thoughts coming out of the convention last week, and kind of board momentum. I think we've had a lot of really, really good board momentum over the last couple of years. I mean, testimony is the ISB Better Board Award for the board as a whole. What I want to do, I think, as a goal this year, and we're talking to Tammy about this, Tammy Drawbaugh is doing a session, is to go through and I did not print it out for everybody, but mostly because I just printed it out today, is in the IASB website, there is a list of what's called, there's standards for a better board. There's 6 standards. And with the standards, there are some categories, some competencies, and then some indicators of best practices. And so one of my goals this year, as the board continues to improve and lead by example, that we would go through a board assessment and identify what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, and so that we know what we're working on. So that would be one of my goals for the year. Mike?
One of my goals for the year, I guess, would be trying to figure out how, as a board, what we need to do on our end to help with student engagement in the classrooms. I think that's something that we need to look into and figure out what we need to do on our end.
Okay. Eric?
I would agree with the student engagement. I'd also, I would challenge some teacher engagement as well in some of our classrooms, and then how as a board, you know, to let the staff know that, you know, we're here for them as well. Obviously, individually, we're one of 7, so we can't solve every single problem of the world, but we're here to serve everybody. And aside from that, just still diving in, you know, with several pieces of the policy, school finance, just in general. But I agree. I think the momentum we have as this board is, we've got a lot of good things coming.
Okay. Todd?
I haven't had a lot of time to think about
That's
it.
okay.
But what Derek said, I think makes a lot of sense. I think the public, and I'm so glad that, you know, it is on TV, so the public knows the things that we can do and the things that we can't do. I think that's really important. You know, I'm sure that people are gonna talk to every one of us, and the people who've been on there before, they come and say, well, I need this done, I need that done. Well, sometimes we can do it and sometimes we can't do it, but we have to bring it to the group. And sometimes it's not anything that we can even be involved with. So I think that's kind of, I kind of agree with what Derek said there, that communication with the public is important.
Mike?
I guess I would like to, my goal would be to kind of explore our relationship that we have with Indian Hills. I know there's some things that seem to be going really well, and some things I think that we maybe need to take a good, long, hard look at to see if that's really the way we want to go. I feel like sometimes maybe we're handing off a little too much. And we need to bring some of that back in-house. I'd also like to look at the way other school districts are handling things. We kind of get lost, you know, in Centerville, thinking that this is the only way to do things. I think I attended a couple sessions there at the conference and saw that there's some other ways to do tackle some of the problems that we have.
Yeah, and that's one of the best parts about the convention is meeting other board members from around the state and hearing that, oh, they have these problems too, we're not alone. And sometimes they've already solved them, they can give us some ideas, so, yeah, benchmarking some other districts, yeah.
Mhm.
Good, okay. Carol, have you thought much about it?
You know, honestly, I have not.
That's okay.
But I kind of piggyback off of what Tom said in that, you know, just realizing that, you know, you are one person on a board. You have your ideas, but you also have to understand the importance of collaborating and looking at what has worked, what doesn't work, and then trying to improve.
Come back to me just for a second, you mind?
No, go ahead.
With my.
You guys get a lot of grace in your first meeting, so go
You
ahead.
know,
Next time, no.
talking about the Indian Hills thing, I went to the one on Jefferson County. And Jefferson, Iowa, Jefferson, Iowa. And that had, did you go to that one? That was really good on how they tackled the problem that they had. And that's a smaller county than ours, I'm sure. And so they had a lot of problems that they had to take care of. And it took them 3 times to get it done, so it wasn't easy, but they ended up, I think, with a good situation. Yeah, and, you know, talking to the other board members is fantastic. I got to know some members from 3 or 4 different boards. I always kind of look for my hometown, and of course, it's a long time ago. But yeah, talking to the other board members was really, really good to sit on the table. I kind of talk a lot, so I get to know people, and I think it really was valuable to get the other insights of the way we do things.
Tim?
This might be kind of a repeat, but the professional development and being a lifelong learner, I really didn't even have any idea we were going to be doing that when I got on board a couple of years ago, but I know I've grown, and right along with all of you, I've spent a lot of time with. And, you know, if you ever see me say, hey, Tim, you know, maybe a little kid say, let's go do this or whatever, you know. So, but I know it's helped me personally outside of being on the school board, so I appreciate it. It's a good board. It wasn't
It was a good board, thanks a lot. I'll come back.
Good, we're still gonna laugh a lot.
You know, and you know, the whole collaborating with other boards and things, I went to Kansas City to see my kids this weekend, because I had enough travel last week. And coming back, my phone rang, I didn't recognize the number, but I answered it anyways, and I won't say the community, but I had somebody who was at the convention who found my name and number and called me and says, hey, I just want to pick your brain for some problems we're having. And I thought that was kind of interesting to have that. So what you say is very, very valid, and the fact that somebody asked us to help solve their problems.
Hey, just moved up another line.
Just moved up enough, so. But no, I think that's just, it's a valid point of just networking some other boards, and I know superintendents do that, SBOs do that, but boards don't do that, so maybe that's something we can figure out how to do, so. Okay, so there's some good goals, I wrote them all down, so we'll figure out how to work on them with, we'll start doing our thing with Tammy in February, so. With that, we can adjourn the organizational meeting, we'll move on to the regular meeting, so just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion second to adjourn the organizational board meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Gentlemen, we may have to split you two up. So the organizational board meeting is adjourned. At this time, we'll move into the regular board meeting. I'd like to call the regular board meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Berger,
Here.
Carter,
Here.
Kessler, here, Johnson,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Thomas,
Here.
Wisters.
Here. I'd like to welcome all visitors, and I've already read the statement once before, so I won't do it again. If there's anybody who'd like to speak to the board as part of the Republic Forum. Seeing none, we'll move on to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion second to approve the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The agenda is approved. There is no old business. Moving on to new business. So we need to appoint board members to groups, work, and committees. And I know for Tom and Carol, this is a, maybe something a little bit new, but I'll go through these. The first one's the county conference board. This year I actually know what it is. The county conference board meets about once. It is to approve the auditor's budget. I work across the street from this courthouse, I'll do that. Unless somebody else really has a desire to do that. I didn't think so. Okay. The Central Foundation Board of Directors, so Bob Thomas is coming off and Mike Thomas is on there. Mike, would you like to stay on?
I would.
And who would like to join you on the foundation board?
Now, I'm on that board.
Oh,
She's already there.
okay.
There you go.
So that's an interesting,
Because this is like liaising to it, liaising with board.
yeah,
So it would make sense to put Carol as the
Yeah, go
person
ahead.
for that, because then we don't run any risk of getting a, not, 3 would be a problem, but 4 would be, so.
right. So that's interesting. I don't even know, I mean, you could probably represent both. I don't think there's a conflict of interest there.
I don't think there was really a lot other than to be part of the conversation, would you agree?
That's about it, yeah.
And I guess the reason why it would be good not to have 3 naturally
Yeah.
there is because if a board member happened to come present on something to the foundation, then that would give us a quorum there,
Yeah.
and that would be a problem.
Okay, all right, so without exception, is everybody okay with Carol and Mike? Okay. Negotiations committee, I'm gonna talk about this one just a little bit. So Bob Thomas came off, so we do need to add one person. Now, here's something that we learned at the ISB convention. There is, and this is covered in Iowa Code Chapter 21 about exempt meetings. And what we learned was, for the exempt meetings, that everybody can attend, but as we discussed, what we do want to keep 3 people on the negotiation committee as far as being in here. But what we did find out is that during negotiations, if we wanted to, other board members could be in Mark's office, and as we kind of go back and forth in deliberations and the negotiations, you could be there and kind of get a real-time update of what's going on. But as far as being in the room, you know, Mark talked to me about it, we just want to kind of keep the 3 people in there, but we can certainly have the exempt meeting in Mark's office simultaneously. So that's something we didn't know that we could do before. But we would like to, I think Mark and I recommend we do it that way. So if anybody wants to come that night, and then we can update as we go back and forth, would be totally appropriate, so. But we do need to replace Bob Thomas. Is there anybody who would like to be on that?
That would be.
Okay. Anybody else have an interest in it? Okay. If, then we have consensus about Derek being on the negotiations committee. Okay. All right, so we'll do that. And as we get closer to that, we'll kind of explain the exact meeting and how everybody can do it. So in the SIAC, Mike Thomas, Derek Carter on that one, and Chris Shondell's coming off. I mean, Derek, since you're coming on negotiation, you want to stay in SIAC or not?
That's fine.
Okay.
So a couple meetings a year.
Okay. So it would be good to have a 3rd board member on that.
What does that entail?
So we will do a second meeting. I miscommunicated for the first meeting was here, so I apologize about that. But it's just coming to the SIAC meeting and discussing with the parents and staff that are gathered there. With the various going on in the district. So like this year, we had to set math, reading, bullying and harassment goals, and science goals with the SIAC committee, just going through the data and setting
Yeah,
goals.
Carol, so in the board pack was the SIAC report, so that committee creates that.
Okay. I'd like to do that.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good meeting. It's really good.
Seriously?
You can ask
I'll
Julie.
be on it too.
We can only have 3.
Well, then I won't be on.
No, Tom, you go right ahead, I'm on something
I can
else.
step off if Don wants to do that. I'm one of the only ones.
Okay,
There you go.
all right.
Well,
I'm
there's
flexible.
There's only 2 on it though.
Mike,
SIAC. Isn't it?
well, it'll be Mike Thomas, Tom, and then Carol.
Oh, okay.
That'll work.
Yeah, Derek said he'd step off, so you can
Oh,
do
okay.
that one side.
Did
Sounds
you
good.
want to continue your work on that since you've been on it?
Well, I missed the last one.
Yeah.
Not continuing my work.
I didn't miss out on it.
Unfortunately, the work there isn't always terribly continuing, so it's usually pretty topical stuff at that moment. We'll do a little bit of continuation at the spring one. We're building a communication protocol. So we'll probably continue some work that we did in the fall with that group on that there too.
Okay. All right, so it'll be Mike Thomas, Tom Johnson, Carol Heffron. And then ADLM, you still wanna, do you guys meet?
Nope.
Okay. So that's like the county.
It's an easy one.
So it's like the county conference board. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I think you have all of those. Okay. All right. That's just an annual thing that we have to go through. So that's one of our procedural things. Okay. So, let me read through this.
Yeah, we need to prove it.
What's that? Oh, we have to approve that. Oh, so as discussed, we need a motion second to appoint those.
So moved.
We have a motion, a second from Derek and Tim to appoint the board members to the groups and committees. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? So done. Approve the board attorney and chief negotiator. Now, there's a little bit of an addition to this one. So Alex McCooney, regular be Daniel Hayfield. And negotiations Aaron, and we've used Aaron for a couple of years. What Mark and I have discussed, and I don't know if you want to chip in.
Yeah.
It might be,
We've added a local counsel to serve as kind of a second opinion on items and also on some local items where maybe we have trouble getting an Allers and Cooney person to come down, but we want an attorney at a meeting for us. So Nicole Cox, she represents a number of municipalities around the state, I think some out of the state as well. Just really solid for that kind of work, and we talked to her about having her serve as our local counsel, and she said she was willing to do that.
a lot of what we use her for is like business procedural things. Because she's not necessarily a school attorney, but she is for state and county procedural, chapter 21, 22 type stuff.
And should anything ever come up for like a real estate or
Yeah,
anything
real
like
estate,
that,
that kind of stuff.
it's just got our local stuff on that. So we may color a whole bunch, or we may color very little. And we're billed based on how much we call them.
So that would be, Ms. Cox would be our attorney, is that correct?
She would be one of our
One of ours.
attorneys.
One of our, who's our other attorney? that
So
we're
Danielle
asking?
Hainfield right now at Allers and Cooney is listed as our head attorney. She's still kind of involved with a couple cases that we're
Yeah,
doing.
there's some work that she needs to finish for us.
Yes. So that's the reason we would.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And so Aaron, the other thing with Allers and Cooney is Aaron Elgis is our chief negotiator, but then also Catherine Binken does the benefits consulting as an attorney there for us sometimes. So they've got kind of a slate of attorneys that we use for various different items throughout a year. Who's the person that looks at contracts for us?
Connor Lawson.
Connor, yeah.
So we feel the right move to stay with ours and Cooney because of the depth. And we do need Danielle to finish the business, so.
Right. But according to this, who's in one board attorney and one chief negotiator, is that correct?
From Allers and Cooney.
So that's our regular contact from Allers and Cooney, yeah. You can use all of those people with Allers
Sure,
and Cooney.
we understand. It's just a more of a formality to appoint
Correct.
Yeah.
one of each. Okay.
Motion to approve board attorney and chief negotiator as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the attorneys that's listed in the board packet. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Okay. If I do this a lot, I broke my glasses. I have a 5-year-old prescription, and I do have new glasses ordered there, Dr. Johnson, but I gotta pick them up, so I'm kind of in the, he knows my eye history there, so I'm
I
kind of.
thought he was winking at me.
I'm trying to find the sweet spot there to see something, so. Next thing is approve the list of early retirements. There's 6 of them in the board packet.
So we have 6 people who have applied for early retirement that meet the criteria that we set out in the early retirement that we approved earlier in the year. Those are Shelley Cranston, Laura Fusio, Joan Krugich, Jennifer Osborne Burns, Rich Parker, and Rhonda Rasky.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion second, approve the list of early retirees. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Approved. Okay. D is, we're gonna miss you, Rhonda. But I'm gonna take kind of a personal point of privilege and say thank you for serving us the last 2 years, because you did go through this, and you have, I think what you did was commendable to step up and stay another 2 years, so we really appreciate what you did for the district. Okay. So, next item to approve the snow removal bid, and since I have been on the board, every year we put this out, the notice in the paper, we get one bid, and it's from Chico.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve Chico to remove our snow this year, and maybe we use them very little. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Dave, we appreciate your service, we're just not digging a lot of snow. All right, now this one will, Mark's gonna talk about, because this is a new thing. We've had some pre-discussion with the board, but I think for Tom and Carol, this is kind of something new. A lot of us have already heard Mark talk about Gear Up, but the action item is to approve the job description for Gear Up Mentor, so.
So before I explain it, I want to tell you that in the packet, the starting salary that's listed actually has a typo. There is a match because of the federal pot of money that they used for Gear Up 3.0, and I'll explain what that means here in a second. But for that, we needed to chip in a small amount of actual cash to go with that. So the starting salary is $40,000 instead of $35,000, which I think actually helps us to have a different pool of people that we might be able to look at for the position when we get this posted. It is a full-time, year-round salaried position. We are part of a Gear Up 3.0 cohort, which this is funded using federal money. So Gear Up is actually an acronym because we love acronyms in education. So it's gaining early awareness and readiness for undergraduate programs. And the goal of this is to create opportunities and increase awareness about college attendance, particularly for low-income students. Our Gear Up 3.0 grant is actually aimed at our current 7th grade class. So what will happen with this position, and they're funding the lion's share of the position for us to be able to have this, is that person will work directly with this year's 7th graders, then work with them as 8th graders, travel to the high school, work with them as 9th graders, all the way through their senior year. And so the goal is that we'll see increased ACT scores, we'll see increased passing of algebra, we'll see increased enrollment in college. There's a lot of expectations for this person. There's, as I understand it from talking to other districts that have had similar positions with this, with Gear Up 2.0, it sounds like they will do a lot of bookkeeping for the federal grant, but then also they'll be able to be engaged in, like our college nights, they'll be able to be engaged in prepping people for the ACT, behavioral interventions for kids that have a need for that, because if you can't behave in a classroom, it's really hard to go to college. So anything that can help our students to be more prepared for college when they're done with their K-12 career is what this position is for. Rhonda, do you have anything you want to add to it? Because I don't want to leave anything big out.
Well, and the main goal too that they told us is the things that we put in place, hopefully it won't just benefit that 7th grade class, but the things we implement, then the classes coming after them will benefit from those too. Like if we implement a family night at a certain grade level, I mean, we can do that every year. It doesn't have to just be things that benefit that one class. There'll be things that we implement that will carry on year after year after year. Does that make sense? Sustainability of all programs, yeah.
It's kind of neat that they want to fund a position for us. It has a very finite amount of time, right? Because when those students graduate, the funding disappears. So it'll just be for that, 5.5 years, I guess now.
But the main part of the grant that they're helping us with is fund that person to establish programs and things that the district can sustain with little or no cost. For example, field trips, things like that to job sites. I mean, we have buses, we can do that after the grant's gone, year after year after year. So that's what they mean by sustainability. So
And this does not have to be someone who majored in education.
Right, yeah, so any associate's degree at least is required, a bachelor's degree is preferred.
They actually say that they cannot be a certified.
Right,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, we can't
contract.
pay somebody on a teacher salary schedule or any other certified salary schedule for it. And so it's also one, and this will be kind of weird when it comes to, it's not a raise eligible position, the amount is just the amount always. So it'd be that 40,000 each year. Unless for some reason something would change with the grant, which is pretty unlikely.
So could the district each year give a cost of living on their portion?
We could talk about that, yeah. But I think.
But
going
the
in-
grant is fixed.
The grant is fixed, yeah.
Right. Our contribution could change.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe with this being, I mean, it sounds like it's a pretty key position, and I don't know, I guess I kind of question what the applicant pool might look like for a $40,000 a year salary for some very high expectations.
Yeah, yeah, that's something that, you know, we're a little nervous about too, to be honest with you. And if for some reason the applicant pool doesn't give us what we need, and if we'd have to really evaluate whether we need to see if we can chip in more. As we saw a couple meetings ago, you know, financially, we're not running in the, like, we've got a ton of extra money laying around. There's no piles of money in the hallways or anything, but if we have to do something, we have to do something. Yeah, you're good, Rhonda.
well, I just want, cause it sounds like that person's doing, and they will do a lot, don't get me wrong. But like Andy's taken the lead on this, so there's different parts, components to the grant. For example, you have to address academics. So we've talked about like an after-school tutor program or things like that, that we can do even after the grant runs out, that could help academically for some kids. You know, there'd have to be criteria and things like that. So what I'm trying to say is, not all the work is gonna be for this person. There's some things that the staff and the administrators will be taking on that responsibility, because they're gonna have to do it after the grant's gone. So the main role of this person, as I see it, is going to be make sure the funding and all the paperwork that goes with a grant has to be done, because there's a lot of paperwork that goes with a grant.
That's gonna occupy a good chunk of their time.
Yeah.
Especially early on, as they get
Paper
used to how to
pushing.
report in Salesforce and everything. Though I think you'll know a lot of the Salesforce.
There's a career, you have to do a career thing, so we've talked about possibly taking them this year in like groups, smaller groups to whatever their interest is versus taking, in 8th grade, they do the career at Indian Hills Day where they all go together, but we've got, Andy's already written up some of the stuff that the grant's gonna carry out. So it's not like this person has to come up with stuff on their own necessarily. The family night, that's part of the grant, that they will help with that, but they're not gonna be the only one doing it.
But to speak to what Derek's saying, I think if you know people who are looking.
Right.
'Cause it's, I mean, 40,000 isn't a lot, but it's a decent job, right? So if you know somebody with a degree that's still trying to figure out what they wanna do, because there are people out there in that situation, please encourage them to reach out and ask questions. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and whatever I don't have, I can get with Rhonda and Andy and get a little bit more for them and try to help them out. We're looking for somebody who wants to be really dedicated to helping these kids get into college and showing, you know, showing the kids that they can get into college and they can do college. Assuming that is, the job description passes tonight, we'll post the job tomorrow.
So that is the action item, is to approve the job description.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, second, to approve the job description of the Garrett Metro. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Did I not say something?
It was just fun to watch.
Attention breaker.
Had to be done.
Yikes.
Right. All opposed? All opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thanks.
I don't know if you guys like plan that or not, but that's good. It was good. Keep me on my toes.
We'll plan to have them come in sometime near the end of the year to share a little bit of what they've started with, I think.
Okay, so item F, we're at approval of the CHF roof bid. Now, I'm gonna do a little bit of, what do we do? That's what I guess we do. So we have a bid in the pack of $44,619.60 from Quick Roofing. That's the only quote we got?
Yes,
Yeah, and this is all within, under our insurance cap on this one.
it's part of the insurance replacement.
So for Tom and Carol, we did have some storm roof damage. And so this one is on what part of the CHS is it?
The tech wing,
Oh, the tech wing? And so this is actually being covered by insurance.
and this isn't actually ripping off the roof, all this is a aluminum fiber coating that's already on there. They're gonna scrape what's on there off and put a new fiber coating over it.
So we need to approve the bid.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the CHS roof bid. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Now, for Tom, most of us are used to this kind of stuff, but for Tom and Carol, do a little education here. So we have another action item for another re-roof project. On the first one, you notice we just had a bid. But on this one, we have what's called an AIA document, that's American Institute of Architects, and so this is an architect's form. So on this case, there is a threshold by law of what, $135,000 or something like that, somewhere in that neighborhood. What's that?
195.
195? Oh, so we were right at it, by 6,000. So there's a level at which point when you're doing construction projects, by state law says when you cross over that threshold, you have to have an architect involved. So for that re-roof project on Howard, we actually had an architect draw up the specs. And so we had to pay an architect to do that. And had to approve it. And so whenever you get an architect involved, the building goes through the architect. And change orders go through the architect. So the CHS project, which was $40,000, is below that legal threshold. So we can just, as a district, do that. But this one, we had to have an architect. So that's why you're seeing the difference in the board packet, both, even though they both have to do with roofs, okay? So what this change order is to credit the remaining balance of the contingency to the owner for the amount of $15,000. So in other words, we are lowering the total contract cost by $15,000 because whenever you get an architect involved, you always put in a number for contingency in case there's changes. So basically, we did not use the contingency, therefore, we're only gonna end up paying them, which gets to $180,600. They never received the $15,000. But by law, what we have to do is change the contract. So what we're basically doing is changing the contract to say we never used our contingency. It's a formal procedural thing. So does anybody have any questions on that?
Pretty exciting to get 15,000. What we don't.
Yeah.
Motion to approve change order number 1. Second.
We have a motion second to approve change order number 1 for the Howard Middle School partial roof repair. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? The change order is approved. Okay. So now we have change order number 5 for the Centerville High School addition project, okay? So, same thing, because we have an architect involved, we have to use the American Institute of Architects form, and so our architect actually provides this. So in this case, there's 3 items that are on the contract for changes, for a total of $11,418.65. And there's some footing work, and some of this was, we didn't know until things got dug up, that were underneath. So in this case, we had a $250,000 contingency, and we've had, this is the change order number 5, One of the early change orders was when they dug up the parking lot where the new gym is, where the very ancient middle school was, found out that there was a lot of rubble in there, and the boiler from the 1910s. And so we chose as a board to say, let's do the environmentally right thing, let's dig that up and have it overpack it. That was nothing that was foreseen. So that was, I think, change order number 2. But so we've had some change orders in there, and so we still have $169,000 or so balance on the change order that we can use on the project. But this is basically, tonight, we're approving those 3 items for $11,418.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Does anybody have questions on this? 'Cause this is, okay, Tom? Okay.
Number 3 is a good thing though to call out. I really appreciated Aaron's foresight on this. So item 3 on that includes adding additional water shutoffs. Because one thing we found during construction is that something gets broken somewhere, or during the water main leak last year, something gets broken somewhere. If we can turn water off to an area and still maintain use of other areas, that's very helpful in a building the size of the high school. So Aaron caught that and really kind of took it to make sure that we have shutoffs everywhere in that building, which is
The
good.
ability to isolate water is very big for my department.
Yeah.
We've been adding them in through Lakeview for the past couple of years, and it's always more expensive after the fact than when you're there.
No, that's good, so. Okay.
Just wanted to call it out.
No, that's good. Okay, so I didn't know you instigated that, so good for you. Appreciate that, so. So, I lost track. We have a
We had
motion.
a
Second.
motion and a second.
We do. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the change orders. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed? All right, those change orders are approved. Okay, the next one is the Woodman Controls Annual Service Contract. I think, Aaron, why don't you talk to us about that one?
Well, over what started this, we've never had a service contract with them in the past. We've just been using the system that we had bought from them when we originally got the HVAC equipment. But over the past couple of years, we've had a lot of problems with the HVAC down there. And the controls is what we use to monitor and control the HVAC. And we even had problems with that over the course of these years. And basically this contract will allow us to see these things a little sooner and not have air conditioning break down necessarily a week before school starts. I think that's happened the last 2 years at Lakeview, a week before school starts. Now this one isn't foolproof, well, but it's 99% more likely to catch mechanical failures with this than without this. And that, yeah, this includes 4 quarterly visits for them down to update the system and comb through the system constantly. Usually we've had them down probably once or twice a year just to comb through the control system, and usually it's about $1,700, $2,000 every time they come down. So over the course of over the course of time, this is probably going to save us money in the long run.
And so they currently are working with the system and they know the system, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's their system that they installed when the system was originally installed in the building. They just gave us the software, we've been using it. The software hasn't been continually updated, because the software like this needs to be updated constantly, kind of like a computer. Well, if it's not being updated, it's not going to perform very well over time. And we know how to monitor the system, but they know all the back end stuff. They can go in and change stuff constantly, see stuff that we wouldn't be able to get into.
I think more importantly than maybe saving money in the long run is providing a safe and comfortable learning environment for our students and working environment for our staff. I think with the beginning of the year challenges at Lakeview the last 2 years, it wasn't a comfortable learning and working environment. It may have bordered on unsafe for the working environment prior to kids getting there, so.
The floor was still wet.
Yeah.
So are they gonna balance the system then? Is that part of this?
Basically, yeah, they'll come through and they'll make sure any problem errors that are popping up, any of the coding that's wrong, they'll fix it and adjust it. And
Well, because I know, you were down there, I was down there the first week of school, and, one room would be 74 degrees with 82% humidity. The one right next door was 68 degrees with, 40% humidity. The rooms next door were not balanced.
There were a lot of problems that all happened at once that contributed to that.
Okay.
We've gotten all those problems fixed
Okay.
since then, but yeah, this will help us see them ahead of time.
Okay, all right. Well, I think it's the right thing to do, so.
Now, we, like, at Tower and at high school, we have systems with Base Point, it's just another company. Now, I have elected to get a service contract with them because those HVAC systems run a lot more pure, and we don't hardly ever have any problems with them. I think at Howard, we've called them in the last couple of years, we've called them once, they work through it over the phone with us, and they don't even bill us.
Okay.
So we don't have to call them down as much, but this is the problem.
Yet another pain of the overly complicated system being put in at Lakeview beyond what it probably should have been initially. In a cracker box, for sure. And thank goodness our new system at the high school is not that way.
No, this is,
More back to what we're used to.
All right, any questions for Aaron on the Woodman Controls contract? Would the board like to approve this?
Motion to approve the Woodland Controls annual service agreement.
Second.
Motion second to approve the control service agreement. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. So this is one where Lisa's going to take over again. Approve the request for allowable growth and supplemental for enrollment, late open enrollment, and the limited English proficient instruction beyond 5 years.
So there's 3 different items that we can ask for the SBRC for allowable growth for, and the first one is increased enrollment, which we didn't have, so that's a 0. Late open enrollment, I'm hoping that you will approve $107,237.04, and that is for open enrolled students that are this year's open enrolled students that were not on last year's count, because the funding is 1 year behind, so we're gonna be making payments to other districts for open enrolled out that we don't have the funding for yet. And then the third thing is LEP instruction beyond 5 years, and that's for any students that have to get that extra instruction, and that's $1,608.39. And they have to be 2 separate motions, and I have to put that amount in those motions. Does anybody have any questions on those?
All right, so again, for Tom and Carol, because you're new, so basically what we're allowed to do is ask the state to supplement budget shortfalls for certain criteria by code. This is one of those. So if it's a weird thing, the state says, we're gonna give you more money to help you with your problem, but you have to ask us. So Lisa's gonna ask for the money, but Lisa can't ask for the money unless we as a board approve her asking. If that makes sense, okay?
And it was, did I say it was 13.8 students? So,
Yeah.
okay.
So the first motion would be something along the lines of, I move to approve the request for the open enrollment out for $107,237.04. So somebody would make that motion.
So moved.
I see, you're welcome. So Carol, want to see the other time?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Waiting for Bob.
yes.
Bob will- He'll come down.
So we have a motion and a second for the open enrollment for
Who
107,000.
seconded? I didn't-
Thank you, sorry. $107,237.04. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, so that one is, so now we would need a second motion, which would sound something like, motion to approve the limited English proficiency instruction supplement for $1,608.39.
So moved.
You're learning, Tom.
You
So
paid the
Tom
new
did
one,
that?
Tom and Tim. So we got Tom and Tim. Okay. So having a motion second for the the supplemental for limited English proficiency. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? And that is, we have now approved that, or Lisa to ask for that. All right, so the next is, speaking of SIAC, approve the SIAC, which is the School Improvement Advisory Committee's recommendations. Mark?
Okay, so our SIAC committee on the 24th of October, we doubled the number of non-staff parents on our SIAC committee. Unfortunately, it's still 2, so I'm looking to double it again on our next SIAC meeting. So I had a few more invitations out that just didn't work out, and but I think we'll keep getting people, because it's been very positive for the people that come. I will tell you, it was a very lively, awesome conversation about instruction and what's good for our students. We talked about these goals, and then we talked about the communication protocol to kind of discuss how we as a school communicate with parents, and what items are good for Facebook only, what items need a letter to go home, what items go on Power School announcements and everything. So still a work in progress that we'll take back to that committee again in the spring, but really good work done there. We also, well, okay, I'll go through these now because it's in there. We approved an early literacy short range and long range goal. As you have in your packet, the short range goal is by spring of 2024, 65% of students will be at or above benchmark. The long range goal is by the year 2025, 80% of students in grades K-5 will be at or above benchmark. These goals were pretty, I think, very within our reach. That 65% will get us back in the neighborhood of pre-COVID. And you can tell from the data are heading back on that trajectory. So I think there's a lot of potential there. Then in math, we did a short range and a long range goal as well. By the spring of 2024, 70% of students will be at or above benchmark on the math screener. I'm sorry, that should be on the benchmark on ISASP, and so I apologize, I wrote the wrong thing there. So that's at or above benchmark on ISASP. ISASP is the Iowa, all right, help me out here. Really, I'm losing it now that I'm on the spot. Iowa State Assessment of Student Progress. Iowa State Assessment of Student Progress. There we go. Sorry about that. I got on the spot and lost myself. So by 2024, 70% at or above the benchmark on that. By 2025, 80% at or above the benchmark on that. The data is still fairly new with ISAT. You know, back in the day, people used to take the Iowa assessments or the ITBS we took back in the day, so things are a little different. ISASP scores kind of work out differently, so we're still waiting to see what ISASP does for us. But those are our goals that we set there. Believe it or not, for one more semester, we were required to approve our return to learn plan with our SIAC committee. I feel like we returned a few years ago from COVID, but it still had to be done until January, so we made no recommendations for changes. We felt that we had the right return to learn plan in place. And we did set a bullying and harassment goal. This was a new item in the desk audit. We said that the district should look to identify strategies and management approaches to continue to increase how safe students feel at school and to encourage students to share with an adult when there are concerns in peer interactions. This will be tracked by making improvements in the conditions for learning scores in the peer-to-peer and adult-to-student categories. So we'll continue to track that data. Conditions for learning is the one survey that's actually exempt from the new laws on surveys. So it's going to be the one place where we're going to get information on how safe our students feel at school, which is a big deal. We typically get fairly decent scores on the adult-to-student, but not always on the student-to-student scores. So that's kind of why we thought that would be a good place for us to look for the bullying and harassment goal, just to try to help. You know, if kids feel they've got an adult that they can go to and talk to about a problem happening, then they're more likely to report that, and we can address it, and we can work with kids to resolve conflict and make sure that people are treating everybody appropriately and raise that student-to-student score. That's kind of SIAC.
Questions for Mark on SIAC?
Motion to approve the SIAC recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the SIAC recommendations as presented by Mark Taylor. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The SIAC recommendations are approved. So now we have, and again for Tom and Carol, so what we usually do is, unless there's somebody that has an exception request for it, we do take approve the personnel business procedures, all items A through F as a lump sum, in order just to kind of speed through that,
We
so.
did have one item on the table today, approving Brian Keeler for girls head basketball coach. Step 12 for that.
Just have one question. Seems like we are doing step adjustments a lot. How often does that, like, how's that work?
You mean with
Oh, yeah, I know what
just
you're talking
positions
about.
or?
Yeah, so like, the step changes,
Lane changes?
lane changes, yeah.
You're talking lane changes.
Lane changes.
So like when a person takes courses, so there's an approval process where actually each administrator has to sign off on it, and then they have to turn in the paperwork at the right times of the year and everything, and to be able to do any change, if they get graduate credits.
Yeah, steps are contract
Yeah, no,
basis,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
Sorry.
You threw me for a second, yeah.
They have till, I believe it's November 1st, I believe, to get their transcripts in, so that's, we don't normally have any in November, but this one got it right at the right time, and we just had to.
So this does mean that these people all worked to advance themselves educationally, which I think will always pay dividends for our students. I mean, if people, for example, I know one teacher on this list, I won't say a name, so I'm not violating any rules, but she worked to take a number of classes so that we could increase our offerings at the high school. So we're actually gonna be offering a class for college credit that we couldn't have before because this teacher had taken this track of courses to be able to do that. So definitely have some exciting things for kids that can come out of these. I really know that because my child has decided she direly wants in this course, so. Very excited.
When does that start?
Second semester. Right?
Any other questions on the personnel business procedures?
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the personnel business procedures. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? They're approved. So financial reports. So this is typically where we approve any additional bills that are in this board package, so. Lisa, do you have anything to add?
I do just want to say that our first bond issue, since I've been here, the 2020 master facility bond issue is with your approval of tonight's payment. I'll be closing that account and that will be finished, so.
How much was that one for?
That one was the one that was for preschool, Howard, the athletic complex, and
Okay.
then high school, and it was,
That's like 5.6
Five,
million?
yeah.
5.6
right under
million.
six,
That's kind of nice.
so, I mean, it might.
So now in our tenure, we have, at least for three of us, we have approved the bond and paid it off.
Well, no, it's not paid off.
Oh.
What I'm saying is, the proceeds, I guess, what I'm trying to say is the proceeds are,
Are you?
are
Are
used.
you? Oh, I thought we paid it off. You got me all excited.
Well, it's a bank account I get to close.
Oh.
That excites me.
But it does mean that the money that was promised to the public to be used
Yeah.
for the purpose it was promised was
Okay.
used for that purpose.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean,
I
yeah.
thought we paid the bond off. I was getting
No.
excited.
I was like, man, that's quick, I didn't
I
know.
know, I just,
that.
it's like, hey, whatever, okay. Sorry, okay.
I get excited about the small
Yeah.
ones.
All right, so would like, any questions on financial reports?
So you won't see that on the cash report anymore after
Yep,
this one.
Motion to approve the financial reports.
Second.
Carol second, so. Motion a second to approve the financial reports. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Mr. Taylor, superintendent report.
Hey, I will not take a lot of your time. I hear that there's something for a couple of our members that they're very excited about this evening, but I did have a book to read now. I do have a few things I want to share with you that I think are of interest. Next month, we'll officially approve our certified enrollment report. We have some last final adjustments that we have to wait to get through, and then we'll get that on the December meeting for us to approve. So that'll be a good, important item for us, because as you know, certified enrollment drives our budget and can tell us what we need to do. I left a board policy, or I passed board policy calendars that I'm proposing for the rest of the year to you. If that calendar functions the way that I hope it does and we're able to follow it, we will be done going through all of our policies, and then we can just kind of start the process again, essentially, because that's what happens, and do the yearly updates and check them every 5 years. But we'll be up to date to this point, which will be super exciting to have done. I also put on your I passed around this 13 things that people wish, that board members wish people knew about them, that I think is really nice. Again, it does say New Jersey, I think it was, specifically, but it applies to board members in all states, or at least all states where board members are not paid. It applies pretty well, so just kind of a fun read for you. I did a walkthrough of the new high school building today. Gosh, it's really coming along. There were cabinets in some of the rooms, there's a lot of paint up. Some of our accent red in the hallway, which looks pretty slick. One thing that Aaron and I have kind of talked through, and Brad and I have talked through, is one of our goals in the new year is to get our staff to get a chance to get in and see that. The challenge is, you know, with the contractors' working schedule, and then when we have our staff, just trying to make that line up. But we want to get our high school teachers to get in there and get to see that space, because I know the ones we took on our last board meeting where we went through were just beyond ecstatic about how cool that space was and what they get to do there. I really think for our team that's been so spread out in 3 floors now, to get to be in one hallway together is really going to help us increase collaboration between departments. I think it's going to be huge for us. And then we have kind of an exciting announcement. We will be hosting a substitute authorization class here in January 26th through 28th. It's kind of a long weekend. It's a good chunk of the evening on the 26th, Friday the 26th, most of the day on the 27th, Saturday, and then I would say pretty much a full day of work on the 28th. But if a person has 60 hours of college credits, an associate's or a bachelor's degree, they can take this class and be authorized to sub up to 10 days a month in any one classroom. So they can sub any classroom, but can do as many as 10 days in one room. We need to get to 10 people in the sub-authorization class to be able to still have it here. Because if you get less than 10, they'll cancel it. So if you know people, we're going to put some things out on our Facebook. I'm going to put some things out on my Facebook too to try to encourage people, and I'd encourage any of you to reshare or talk to friends or tell them to come in and let us know if they want to sign up. The cost is $100, and there is a book that can be purchased for $26. You know, we'll just look to come together. I did receive word from both the Lakeview PTO and the Ed Foundation that they're going to help us sponsor some treats for the people that come to that for those long days, to help us thank them for wanting to sub in our district and encourage them to keep subbing in our district specifically. So, kind of exciting. January 26th through the 28th. And assuming we're under 15 people, we'll be here. If we get above 15, I think we'll move probably to the Lakeview Library for that. And I'll be very happy if we get above 15.
And I will donate a book.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, well, and that's the other thing, yeah, I mean, if somebody needs a little sponsorship, we may have people, like if you know somebody that may have trouble affording the the course or the book, there may be people willing to help them out on that too. That's my exciting stuff.
Okay, any questions for Mark? Okay,
Can
go
you
ahead.
repeat the qualifications for that?
So you have to have 60 hours of college, like 60 hours of classes,
Okay.
or an associate's or a bachelor's degree. I think technically if you've got a para-educator certification, you can then take the sub-auth too to get it. That's pretty rare, like not a lot of people have that are out there looking.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mark?
Any field, by the way, it doesn't have to be 60 credits in education or anything, it can be underwater basket weaving.
That was an order.
Yeah,
Underwater associated order.
yeah, or, one or the other, or the other.
Okay.
Yeah,
I did misunderstand that.
no, you're right.
I actually know more people that probably are almost qualified.
Well, see, and that's the thing, I think a lot of people would be surprised, because, you know, you talk to people and they say, well, I couldn't do that. Well, actually, here's the requirement to be able to do that. Oh, I never thought I could. So if you know somebody who's like off every Thursday, and they might want to sub a Thursday every now and then to get a little extra money for Christmas time or whatever, this could be good for them.
Not in January.
Not in January, but next Christmas, next Christmas will be pretty rocking.
And what is that paying at?
I don't know.
120.
And then 10 days.
I think I would know that.
What's, and then the long range if you go, what's it, 10 days?
I think it's around one.
Of course, these people, if you're just getting the sub off, you wouldn't qualify for the long range, you couldn't do that. So,
You can't do more than 10 days.
you can't do more than 10 days in one room, that is, so like, you could sub every day of the month at Lakeview. But you could only do 10 days in a fourth grade room, 10 days in a third grade room. Or 10 days in one fourth grade room, 10 days in another fourth, I don't know why I'm saying fourth grade, probably because the child of mine that I love the most is in fourth grade, so. Yeah.
That's on the record, too.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mark? Before he
Is
goes
the
home and
sub-
has to face his other
The
kids.
subject is 120?
Yes.
Yeah.
The good news is they don't listen to anything I say ever anyway, so we're safe.
All right, thanks, Mark. So now we're gonna go to board takeaways, and for Tom and Carol, and to remind everybody else, so this is something that we've been doing for a couple of years now. It's where board members will go around and I'll call on people, and it's usually under the theme of what you learned tonight, what do you need to learn more about, something you think the board needs to think about. And I would expand it not to just me, but, you know, Tom, it's, if you wanna go from last week to, and anybody wants to go from last week, that's fine. So, Carol, we'll do ladies first, if you're prepared. Now, that seat with Mr. Thomas, there has been known to say, I pass, I'll go later. So you can invoke the spirit of Bob if you want to pass and let everybody else
No,
go.
I'm good.
Okay. And there's no repeating, by the way.
That's
First is the
advantage.
right.
No
Okay.
repeating, yeah.
Well, I came in tonight knowing that this would be a huge amount to learn, not only tonight, but moving forward and hopefully every time.
Yep.
And I did learn a lot.
Okay.
The way that things were explained, what made it very, you know, what looked difficult on paper, very easy to understand, and I appreciate that. So that's my takeaway.
Tom?
Well, I tell you what, I can talk a lot. I won't talk as much as Bob. But what I found, you know, in going to the meetings and, you know, I've gone to a couple of meetings before this, is I see how important Lisa is to this organization, my gosh. Her knowledge is just phenomenal, and so I think that's really important. I do want to say that, you know, I did teach school, so I was involved with that for a while. And so, and kind of what take away from Bob, this is so totally different coming from the other side. And I think that's important to realize that now you are doing the evaluations and having to work with a lot of people to do the best. But no matter what it is, the teachers, the principals, the support staff, we're all doing the same thing for the students. And I think that's just the takeaway that's so important.
Tim?
Well, I guess I'll take the kind of easy thing. We just went to the convention last week.
Yep.
And.
You can all use convention, just has to be something different.
No, and I know, like last year when I went, it was brand new to me. This time, I just kind of went off on myself because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go check that out, because I'm pretty sure he's probably gonna go over there. Just so we could kind of all experience a little bit different experience while we're out there. And, I know there's a lot of good information, and I met a couple really nice people from other school districts that I have really nice conversations with. And you wouldn't think, some of it, like, one of them was from a much bigger school, something else. And, but, just, I don't know, a lot of good interactions.
Good to network with those school board members, you learn a lot. So it's worth going to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Derek?
Yeah, the second year going to the conference, we ordered up some perfect weather for it. That was always nice. But again, just networking with.
You already used it, go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead.
The networking is nice. But for me, I think a lot of it was those of us that went and just non-business related conversation, just getting to know each other a little bit better. Just
The
really,
team building.
really building that teamwork. And again, like was said in the previous meeting, just kind of knowing how each other tick, kind of getting an idea of why they may go for, I think Chris had said best, you may not always agree, but at the end of the day, we come to the right answer for the right reason. I just look forward to continuing that.
We did solve a lot of the non-school
Well,
world's problems
yeah,
on
just-
Wednesday night.
They've got to ask us, and we've got it solved.
I don't think they're gonna ask.
We just try.
But no, I think your point is just the team building.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just as a team, yeah. Mr. Thomas?
I thought this year's conference was much better than the others that I had attended. In years past, I honestly wondered why I went. This year, I went to 3 sessions that I thought were very spot on the money, very valuable. And it made me question. I went to the one where the guy talked about generational differences, and
Yeah.
how to appeal to different generations. And it made me wonder, are we using our public relations firm the way we should? I don't hear anything from them, but maybe I'm not in the loop here somehow. I think that we're missing the boat by not telling our story. And there's lots of ways to tell.
Yeah, because he talked about, so for the fellow, he talked, gosh, he actually did probably 3 hours if you went to the second
If you went to
session.
the second one, you did 3
You got 3 hours and it talked about the generations and just the difference in generations and how you reach it. You can't reach every generation with the same message. You have to hit their kind of generations, kind of hot buttons, I guess, in a way that they understand from a generation standpoint. So we talked about that, so that's an opportunity for us.
Yes. The other thing I would like to touch on, what Bob Thomas mentioned in his tenure, and I can tell you that the first couple of years on this board were very frustrating for me. I mean, if I had a dog, I'd kick the dog when I got home. Things were not going well from my perspective and not headed in the right direction. But I do believe that there's been a huge turnaround here. And we've got a board that I have been able to work with. And I don't mean to take anything away from the other previous board members, but it wasn't as cohesive as this one is probably gonna be. Another plus, I think, here, and I don't mean to take anything away from anybody here, but we now have 3 former educators on this board. And I think that perspective tempers everything that we do here. Because it's, as I used to say, the other side of the desk, it's a lot different. So I'm looking forward to working with Carol and Tom and the continued work that we're doing here.
Thank you. Mr. Moore? You want to go last?
No, I guess I want to take a minute to say thank you to, those teachers that we did approve for, their early retirement. A lot of knowledge going out the door there. So, thank you for everything you did for the district for all those years. Obviously, the easy one to talk about is, the convention.
Cheater.
You can use convention as long as it's something that
That's
hasn't been
something
spoken.
different. So, I agree with Mike. This one, this year seemed to be the best one I've been to yet. Overall, I'm really glad I went to Friday session. I think that made the convention for me. That really summed it up. So when you get a chance, go to the Friday session, and it's very beneficial.
Okay. Okay. So, my turn. So again, I'll just echo from the convention. I agree with everything that said. What I'll add to that is I did learn some things in there by going to 2 sessions that were presented by 2 different lawyers on open and closed meetings. And where I learned a lot about exempt meetings that I didn't know before. And so when we go to the contract negotiations, everybody can be in the room and we'll just come back and forth and update you. And because in the past of contract negotiations, you come into a board meeting and we present to you. Now you actually get a little more information, but it's how to have some exempt meetings. And for things like that, I think that will be another tool that we're going to have to kind of move some things forward. So I learned a lot about exempt meetings in there. And then the other thing I would have from tonight is under the, I think I'm going to be okay saying this way, but evidently you can teach an old dog new tricks. Because, is that okay?
I hope so.
And sometimes you can have a young dog that can learn some new tricks too. So by that is, I am very excited that Miss Schofield is going to move into Howard.
I don't know.
What I learned tonight is that sometimes you can have an administrator who is, I'm very happy where I am. I'm doing a lot of things, but I am willing to take some new challenges. And so I would just say thank you for doing that. And I'm excited about that. And to me, it's just, I never would have thought about taking and moving a principal from one building into the other, but you're going to do that, and I think you're going to do well. So
I've been really blessed, Kevin. I say that. Mark and I talked for a couple weeks, and I just said, there's been an amazing team of teachers that walk through those doors every year, and great families and great support from you all. I mean, whoever gets that job is going to be very blessed also.
And have some good people in district to continue to mentor them and help them.
Yeah.
So,
I look forward to seeing our kids through the next process on the other end of the deal. So.
Okay. All right, so that was a nice thing. Just wanted to basically acknowledge Terry for taking that challenge on and all of that. So.
Nothing, the old dog thing.
I was more thinking of Bob moving into retirement. I just failed to mention that one, so no, thanks, Terry, for taking on that opportunity.
Maybe he was talking about the old dog.
Following a good dog.
I was just waiting to see if the old dog was leaving or.
I probably shouldn't have said anything about a dog, but it stuck in my mind. What Mr. Thomas said, and I was trying to be a little bit better.
Let's not kick that dog.
Let's just change the dog to Queen.
I like that.
So anyways, Terry, thanks for taking that challenge on. So. With that, we take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
No motion second adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
I know.
Thank you all very much.